Welcome to Redvee TV as we continue our 2023 season player previews. And today is a very, very special day. It's 26 days to go, Kevin, which can mean only one thing.
It's time for our number 26, and that is Dan Hill. And Dan Hill is proudly sponsored by Redvee.net.
Redvee.net is an independent St Helens fans website established in 2003. 20 years, 20th anniversary this year. One of the longest running club rugby league websites on the internet, proudly serving the local community of St Helens and giving Saints fans the platform to talk the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is usually me and you, Kev.
It certainly is. We're described as a lot of things. That's one of them. Two Scousers, one from Burnley, one from Liverpool, two fat lads and an iPhone. Though that was one of ours as well. Yeah, they're some of the polite ones, aren't they?
It is indeed. But today we're very proud to once again announce we are the sponsors of Dan for the 2023 season. And what can we expect from Mr. Hill this year?
Well, listen, he had a taste of the first team last year. He's going to want that again. A good year last year bedding in. Played with injury against Castleford after taking a bang on his shoulder and toughed it out until he could take no more. He's going to want to kind of cement that place in the 21-man squad. He's going to want Paul Helens to have to make a decision about him being played. We keep mentioning John Bennison. We're going to mention him probably another dozen times before we get to his preview, but there's the template, isn't it? And after we did while we were doing the forum for Alex Walmsley's testimonial last year, Dan was one of our guests, and Louis and Alex were waxing lyrical about the things Dan could do in training. So it does kind of bode well for us having Dan in the squad.
Yeah, he can obviously play on the wing. He can play at fullback as well. 2 appearances last year. I think it was until his season got ended by, was it the shoulder injury?
Yeah.
So his aim of this year to come back pre-season, fighting fit, hopefully get a chance this Friday against his former club, Widnes. And listen, it's going to be tough for him this year. There's lots of competition on the wing at the club. Obviously, you've got T. Ritson, you've got Tommy Makinson, you've got John Bennison, you've got Dan, and then obviously you've got Jumar as well. So it's a good pack of players there, and hopefully will spare them onto better things, and that competition is all you can hope for. How many appearances for Dan this year? Another couple. Hopefully, maybe get a bit of dual reg as well. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what he's going to be looking for. Dual reg, it may well be the thing to keep him match sharp. Obviously, some reserve action as well. But listen, I think once you get the taste for first team, that's what you're going to be pushing for. You don't know how injuries are going to pan out. You don't know how suspensions are going to pan out. You don't know how form's going to pan out. That it could be he gets half a dozen appearances this year, really pushes on, and as I say, gives Paul Wellens something to think about.
Absolutely. Kev, coming up at the end of this preview is an interview with Dan, which we've sat on for 4 months because we're lazy. For anybody watching, it was filmed just before the grand final at the end of last season. So we're going to attach that at the end of the interview, end of the preview, where we caught up with Dan on Zoom. He's a great lad. He was good company at Alex Walmsley's testimonial. What did we call it?
What did we call what?
Forum.
The forum, yes.
We did. So yeah, he's a great lad. He's in the second year of his 2-year deal, and we just hope he can kick on this year. And I'm sure he will once again do Redvee proud.
Yeah, there's probably possibly parallels with his with him at the Forum and his Saints career. Where at the Forum, that's probably the first one he's done. Kind of didn't know what to expect. Had Alex and Louis, two big characters, kind of geeing him on and taking the mick a little bit. But he soon grew into it, didn't he? And he started taking Louis on, and Louis loved it. So hopefully he can do that this season, because he was in great form, and it's good to listen. We listen like all the time, and we speak to like Tommy Makinson, we spoke to Alex Walmsley, we spoke to Louis. It's good to hear it from a young person's point of view coming into the Saints team, especially as he's come from Widnes, coming into the Saints team and seeing kind of what it's all about. How does a youngster see it? Not someone who's been at the club 10 years. So that's it. Stick around for the interview and have a listen to what Dan's got to say.
Is it fair to say, Kev, that it took him a while to grow into the club and to believe in himself a little bit and realise that he did belong?
Yeah, possibly so, That's it. He seems like such a humble lad. And that's it. We mentioned like after the Cass game how he said how much he enjoyed it and how intense it was. And he possibly didn't quite believe that he'd got the chance and he was in there. But you don't get signed for a club. We mentioned this when we did Matty Foster. You don't sign people just on a whim, and you don't sign people just for what phrase did we use with Matty? Just for sentimental reasons. You don't. That's not what you do. You sign them because they're good enough, because you see something in them, and hopefully he can take that confidence of his appearances, of the raps that he got from Christian Wolf last year, and he can go on to bigger and better things in the Redvee.
Absolutely. And listen, if we'd have sat here, well, you probably did sit here before the start of last season when we previewed John Bennison, and we probably said he'd only get a couple of games, and look what happened with his year. So anything is possible if you're in the Saints squad. Kev, stick around and we can relive the interview with Dan Hill after this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and don't click away. Welcome to a Redvee TV special, as we are joined this evening by the Redvee.net sponsored player for 2022, Danny Hill. Danny, thank you very much for joining me and Kev. Really good for you to give up some time to have a chat with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks.
So last time we saw you in a Saints shirt, you played for an hour against Cass with a busted shoulder. So the first thing we need to ask you is, how's your rehab going?
Yeah, it's going good. I'm right at the end of it now, so I can pretty much do most things now. So yeah, I'm not stuck on the boring things like I was in the first couple of weeks. So yeah, nearly all good. Yeah.
So it's good to hear. You've been playing over at Widnes. You'd made 6 first team appearances for them after coming through the scholarship programme before you transferred to Saints. So just how did the move come about?
Good question. It's probably weren't playing as much as I wanted to at Widnes. I was behind Jack Owens at the time, really. And with there being no academy at Widnes, weren't really playing games. And then I was out of contract, and to be fair to Widnes, they thought it'd be best for my progression to move on to a club that I could play. Obviously, with the reserves at Saints and having an academy, whereas Widnes didn't, and then my agent did the rest, to be honest.
Well, that's fair enough. It's interesting to kind of hear that to like your agent did the rest, and it was almost like a Widnes and yourself decision that it was best for you kind of moving on and coming to a club like Saints. And since you've come to Saints, you've been in quite a few 21-man squads. You've been 18th man. We've seen you training as 18th man on a number of occasions. Are there any differences when you preparing as an 18th man compared to when you know you're starting a game? Like, is it the same mindset? Are there certain things you do slightly differently? Because for us up in the stands, we don't know the difference. So can you give us a little bit of an insight into that, mate?
So throughout the week, you'll prepare the same. You'll do captain's run as the rest of the squad will, and then on game day, probably does feel a bit different, but you have to prepare the best you can just in case something happens and you get called up. Because you can't think of it. The time you don't prepare right is the time you'll probably end up playing.
Yeah, that's something obviously that when we were going through the questions, it was like if you don't kind of set yourself up as if, you know what, I'm going to have to slot in a fullback here or in the centres or on the wing, you know that's the time that you're going to be playing, isn't it?
Yeah, and then if you have a bad game, you only have yourself to blame then, don't you?
Yeah, I'm sure they pull you up in the even in the videos and say what were you doing to like in your warming up and stuff like that. You mentioned earlier about how you've come to the club, Christian Wolf's the man who's brought you to the club. What's it been like working with him and Paul Helens? And what have you learned from them? What pieces of advice have you taken? Is there anything you can really nail down and give us an insight into how they work and how they've kind of progressed you?
Yeah, they've helped me loads. I think coming into a full-time environment is different to when I was at Widnes, definitely more. Obviously, you speak and you see them every day pretty much. And yeah, they've basically helped every part of the game, to be honest. On the mats, doing little contact things on the skills, and then obviously out on the field, just when we're doing drills, always tipping you up on what to do better.
Yeah, is there any bit of advice that they've given you with your game or anything like that? Or is it just playing, or is it just training with the likes of Paul Wellens, who was a great fullback on his own, that you just pick up little bits here? We'll give you, not something that you turn around and he says, I want you to stand here, or I want you to do this. It's just the little nuances that you see with his training. Yeah,
like you say, it's everything they do, really. Obviously, when they speak, you listen, obviously, and then they're always helping you. Especially being a young lad, I've got loads to improve. Like every day, I need to do things better. So they're always giving me little things to do better and that.
So Dan, since you've come to Saints, we've seen you playing a number of different positions. Obviously, away at Cass, we've seen you on the wing and a spell at fullback. You played on the wing again, Cass, at home, and in the reserves you've played a little bit of centre as well. So, what's your favourite position?
Probably favourite would be fullback. It's probably all I've played coming through, but since I've learned how to play centre and winger, I've enjoyed learning how to do it. Probably something when I was at Widnes, I wish I did as well, learning new positions, because at Widnes I was just tied down to being fullback, and then looking back, maybe I could have got more opportunities at Widnes if I learned how to play centre and winger. So yeah, I'm more comfortable at fullback, but I'm enjoying and learning playing centre and winger in training.
So what would you class your style of play as? Is there any role models in the game that you watched growing up and you thought, that's who I want to base my game on?
As a little lad, I don't know if many know this, I was actually a Wigan fan, so
oh, Daddy!
You ruined it.
Obviously at the time, when I was young, and well, he still is now, obviously, but when I was younger, Sam Tompkins was very good fullback, wasn't he? Then in the NRL, your Billy Slaters and all that, obviously you watch, but yeah, as I've got older and probably understood the game more, like you look at your likes of your Johnnies now, who's killed it at fullback and now at half, hasn't he?
So you made your first team debut away at Cass. Just take us through how you felt being told you were starting in the week leading up to it, and then how you felt on the day of the game and even during it.
Yeah, it was obviously a proud day. It's what you want to do, and then on the day, I was quite nervous, to be honest. I get nervous before any game, so it'd be a bit weird if I wasn't, but probably enjoy it as well. It's something like to share with a lot of other lads as well that I've played with in reserves. So yeah, I enjoyed it as well.
That's it. We saw you after that Cass game, and you told us how tough it was. I know you've played twice for our first team. You played 6 times for the Widnes first team. But what are the differences that you've noticed between playing Super League and playing in the Championship?
The speed of the game, and how physical it is. Things you take for granted, really. Like when you play reserves as well, probably physically it's the biggest difference. Like when you're tackling someone, it's that extra bit to get them down, get them on the back, and then before you know it, when you play Super League, they found the front and they're coming at you again. And yeah, that's what took it out of me, that first game especially.
That doesn't surprise me.
The fans were quite special that day at Castaway as well. Obviously, most travelled over, knowing we were going to be playing a young side that day, but I think there was still 700-800 Saints fans who got over there. Just how special was it with that backing that you all had, given the circumstances?
Yeah, it was massive. It obviously helped us at times as well. In that early on in that first half, when we didn't start the best, and we defended a few lines in our goal line, and having all them behind us, it helped us massively. And in that second half as well, when we started to find our feet towards the back end of the game, it helped us. Yeah.
So after that, you had to wait for your next opportunity. But Christian kept you in and around that 21-man squad. He said you'd get some rugby towards the end of the season. So just how much of a confidence boost is it, knowing that the boss rated you and was keeping you in his thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, it gives you confidence that you're doing something right, and you take confidence onto the pitch, then you're going to play better.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. One thing that was just going through my mind, as you said, you admitted to being a Wigan fan when you were younger. I think we're going to have to let you off, because didn't we let Alex Walmsley off with being a Leeds fan, Dave, when we interviewed him? So we might
Tommy
have
Mack was a Wigan fan as well, wasn't
he? Yeah. So we might have to give you a little bit of leeway there, mate. You're all right. Now you play for us. You're all right. That said, you've grown up coming through the Widnes system. And Dave's just asked you what the fans were like at Cass. What was it like making your debut at Saints, having a full set of Saints fans eager to see how you're doing and wanting you to do well? Because I think once you see one of the young lads, and I can call you that because being over 40, I can definitely call you one of the young lads. People want to see him do well and want to see him kind of progress and make appearances in the first team. So what did it feel like making your home debut?
Yeah, put me on the spot here.
But was it any different to the Cass game? Like, were there any different feelings? Was it because, I mean, with all due respect to Weldon Road or the Jungle, we regularly get it when people say that when we ask them the least favourite ground, it's usually somewhere like that, because the sheds are absolutely terrible and the crowd's right on top of you. But it's going to be a bit different at the Totally Wicked. So was it any different in kind of that way, in that the fact you've got your more luxurious surroundings, and what was it like having a majority home support backing you?
Yeah, it helped being more, like, you felt more at home. Obviously, we trained there as well, so you know what the pitch is like and all that. And then, like you say, having a lot more fans than there that day, it's like having an extra man in it. Yeah, felt better playing at home than it did away.
Yeah, apart from the shoulder injury.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Right, Danny, before we let you go, what are your aims for next season? Are you open to kick on and try and get more game time?
Yeah, definitely. I think first things first, big pre-season, improve on the game there, then just stay fit and enjoy my rugby, and then see what comes with it there. Hopefully kick on and play a few more times.
Right, well, thank you for joining us, Kev. I'll give you some final words.
Yeah, you always do that, don't you? That's it, Danny. I think you come across as like a level-headed lad, and it's kind of good to hear that you're looking ahead with your injuries. You see, coming towards the end of your rehab there, and you're just looking ahead to improving your game and hopefully getting more game time. You're at a club that does that. You're at a club that backs its players, whether that be the playing staff, the training staff, coaches, but also the fans. So that's it. Once you're over this shoulder injury, I'm sure you'll have a couple of weeks off before pre-season, before they start getting you doing. I don't know if they still do Malcolms up the hills or anything like that, but I'm sure going into the new season, that's it. You just keep your confidence, keep working at it. And I've no doubt you can take an opportunity like the likes of John Bennison have done. And if it means you're playing out on the wing and getting your game time, I'm sure you'll be more than capable of doing that.
Cheers. Thank you.
It's worse than Jerry Springer's final thoughts, that. Right, Danny, thank you for joining us. This has been a Redvee TV special. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you very soon for another episode on Redvee TV.